There was a enigmatic passage in the Gemara in Masechet Rosh Hashanah, Daf Tet Zayin Amud Bet. Amar Rabbi Keros Peda'eh. Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Shelosha Sefarim Niftachim Berosh Hashanah. There are 3 books open on the Rosh Hashanah. Ehad Shel Reshaim Gemurim. One book is the book in which the wicked will be inscribed. Ve'ehad Shel Sadikim Gemurim. The other will be the pious. Ve'ehad Shel Benonim. And then there is the middle. Sadikim Gemurim Lichtavim Ve'nechtamim Le'altar Le'hagim. The pious on Rosh Hashanah are immediately written down and sealed for life. The wicked are written down and sealed for death. And finally, there's a Benonim, the middle, who are Tolin. We wait till Yom Kippur, and on Yom Kippur, the final judgment is made. Here's a question, and it's an obvious question. We know that over the course of the year, many people die. Many of the people who die over the course of the year are tzaddikim, are pious people, are tzaddikim gemurim. Everybody dies, including the great tzaddikim. So, according to this, the tzaddikim gemurim are nichtavim and nechtamim le'altar lehayim. They should not die. On the other hand, the reshaim gemurim should die. So, take for example the Chancellor of Germany during World War II. I think everybody would agree, even the Germans, that he was a Rasha Gamur, right? So Adolf Hitler was a wicked individual, perhaps the most wicked humanoid or creature to ever defile this planet. And yet he lived many years, right? I mean, there were many years where he was not inscribed in the book of death, right? That seems odd. It seems that he was inscribed in the book of life. So what are we going to say, that he was not a Rasha Gamur? Well, of course it was a Rasha Gamur. So I want to explain this. I want to explain what this is about. Consider with me for a moment a tree somewhere on a hilltop in northern Israel, in the Galilee. It's a lush area. There are springs of water coming out from the earth, nourishing the tree, and the tree has everything it needs. Okay, but there's one condition. For the tree to continue to be nourished, for the tree to be alive, it needs to be connected to the ground. If somebody was to come with a large chainsaw and cut down the tree would be disconnected from the ground, and as a result, it would die. Okay, that's simple. Let's consider a higher life form. Let's consider a lioness in the African savannah. Okay, so now the lioness, if you were to tie down the lioness to the ground, she would die because she would not be able to nourish herself. In order for the lioness to nourish herself, she needs to be able to hunt. So as long as she has the strength and she can go quickly from place to place and she has the predatory skills to hunt, she will continue to hunt and she will continue to nourish herself. The minute she can no longer hunt, she becomes weak. Eventually she can no longer nourish herself, and as a result she will die. So interesting, in the case of the tree, to be connected to the ground is life. In the case of the lioness, to be connected to the ground is death. Now, let's look at a human being. A human being is a little tricky because a human being has a certain duality. The duality is, on the one hand, we are biological life forms, much like the lioness, and to a certain extent like the tree. We have certain biological systems. On the other hand, we have an intellect. And you may say, well, the intellect is just ancillary to our existence. I would say, actually, it's not. The intellect is our very existence. What makes man unique is man's ability to use his or her intelligence to basically take over the earth and establish human civilization on the planet. Man, because of his, let's look at it the other way around. If you look at our physical, biological aspect, we're actually probably in last place in most categories. If they had the Olympics, including man, lions, hyenas, dogs, cats, we probably would come into last place in every category. So that's what makes man what he is, right? So it's our intellect. So through our intellect, we can transform the planet, we can destroy the rainforest, we can inject pollution into the atmosphere, or for the better. We can create beautiful cities, we can allow for the flourishing of the natural world around us, right? So man's intellect is what makes him unique. Now, let's consider it for a moment. So man is to be inscribed in the book of life. So let's think about that for a moment. So man has this intelligence. Where does that intelligence come from? The book of Daniel in Perek Bet says, Yahev chokhmeta lehakimin umande'a liyadei ebina. This wisdom, says Daniel, this special intelligence comes directly from God. So there is an intelligence streaming in the world, and this intelligence reaches the man's mind, the intellect, and it's through this intelligence that man is guided through his life, and that human civilization can grow and flourish. And Shlomo HaMelech says about that, Ki mi asher yehubar el kol hagim yesh bitachon. If a person is attached, literally attached, he will continue to sustain his life. Here's the point. For a tree to live, it needs to be connected to the ground. If you cut that connection, the tree will die. There may be other life forms on the tree, fungus will develop, and different things will grow on the tree, and different animals and insects will be alive on the tree, but that's not the life of the tree. For the lioness to be alive, she needs to be connected to her source of nourishment. The minute you disconnect her, she can no longer hunt, she will die as a lioness. There may be other life forms that come, there will be certain, insects and parasites that will enter the body, but the lioness is dead, notwithstanding that there's life forms there. For a human being to be alive, a human being was created Beselem Elohim, which means that there was a connection between the intellect of man and that streaming of intelligence that God sends through the world that God created. And the minute man is disconnected from that, he is considered dead. He may be alive, much like the parasites in the stomach or the flesh of a lioness, much like the fungus in the decomposing tree. He may have biological life within him, but he is not a live human being. He was inscribed in the book of death. Consider with me, what is the worst punishment in Judaism? Well, there's death penalty, but I'm sorry, bidei shamayim, karet. Karet, what does the word karet mean? Karet means to cut off. So what is karet? So a person who is hayav karet, he is cut off. What is he cut off from? He's cut off from that which nourishes the human intellect, and that is that special chokhmah that Daniel speaks about. So to be inscribed in the book of death means you are no longer guided by the wisdom that God placed it in the world to guide you. To be alive means that you will continue to be guided by that wisdom. To be alive as a human being, you don't need to be necessarily in a physical body, right? Because when the tzaddikim leave their body, they continue to be guided by that wisdom, and actually more so after they leave their body. Now they come closer to that source of wisdom, and the wisdom that God put in the world is brighter and is more accessible, so they are more alive. So the blessing that we hope for in our tefillot, and we say Zochrenu lehagim, remember us for life. It's not just talking about physical life. We want to continue to be connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, not in an ontological fashion. Rather, we want to have a connection through our intelligence, through our spirituality. We want to be connected with the wisdom that God puts in the world. That's the connection between man and God. That connection is vital for our existence, and it's through that connection that we continue to be alive.